So you're looking for high runes, huh? Of course you are, everybody is. Now make sure you pick the right build if that's strictly what you're going for, because some builds are better at it than others. So today we're taking a look at the top builds for hunting high runes here in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Let's get after it. So I'm coming into this list with a top 6. They're the 6 that I think are personally the best. Now the very first one here, number 6, I'm going with the Trapsin. With the Trapsin build, you can farm anywhere from the Chaos Sanctuary, you can go out and do cows, or even run out and do Eldrich and Shenkk with ease. What is also good about this build is it actually works pretty good as a budget character, but after you get that godly GG endgame gear, it absolutely wrecks all these locations. This build actually does showcase a fair amount of safety too when you count in Mind Blast, Cloak of Shadows, and the Fade that you have to cast. The basic gameplay is pretty simple. You just drop down 4 lightning sentries and then drop 1 death sentry right on top of them. They will all combine to take down 1 monster, and then that death sentry will start popping bodies, and down goes an entire herd of cows or whatever mobs you're going after. The good thing with these sentries being lightning damage as well, once you get infinity, that Conviction aura will break almost all the lightning immunities of the regular monsters in the game, meaning that you can farm almost anywhere you want to. One important thing to note, just a little tip if you are building this character, don't forget that the traps are actually laid down with increased attack speed. They do not go with faster cast rate. The next character on this list, number 5, I'm going with the Corpse Explosion Necro. Now there's actually several different versions of this build depending on if you want a bunch of safety or if you're going for the quickest kill, max damage, stuff like that. The most safety one is going to be the Summon Necro, or some people call it like a Fishymancer. That way you have hordes of skeletons and summons all around you so that they take on the attacks from the monsters instead of you. You will generally then have the Might Mercenary, which will increase their damage. As soon as one of them goes down, you start popping bodies with that Corpse Explosion and melt everything in the area. And that's what makes this character such a good high rune farming character, because you can take out giant herds of cows, you can go out to Eldrich and Shenkk, you can kind of help out anywhere if you're farming with a full party as well, if you're in the Chaos Sanctuary or places like that. Because when you're farming in Hell, monsters have so much health, that's what makes Corpse Explosion deal so much damage. There is also, of course, the Poison Nova that will deal a ton of damage to the monsters around you. It is a very good farmer for down in the pits. We're farming uniques as well, but having all that poison damage can also do a lot to cows. And finally, there is the Bone Necro version of this. You'll generally use Bone Spear and target that on whatever your mercenary is also attacking, trying to get down that one monster as fast as possible, and then start popping bodies, leveling the whole pack. This Corpse Explosion Necromancer, much like I mentioned for the Assassin, works okay even when you have budget gear, but once you get that endgame gear, you're really doing work now. Well, this is just a tad outside the scope of this particular video, but I do want to mention Corpse Explosion doesn't deal any more damage based upon how many points you put into it, so you don't really necessarily need a ton of skill gear in order to absolutely wreck with it, so you can actually stack a massive amount of magic find on this character as well. The next one I'm going to on this list is actually the Whirlwind Barb. Huh? Yeah, you actually did hear me right. I actually said a barbarian is one of the best high rune finding characters in Diablo 2 Resurrected. No, I am not crazy, but it is actually because a barbarian that uses Whirlwind is actually a very, very good character for farming out at Trav. Trav is known for one of the best places in the game in order to farm high runes, and because you have a barbarian, you can then use your item find skill to give you another chance of even finding high runes while you're out there. In my experience though, this build does not work particularly well with budget gear, but once you get up to at least getting yourself a grief, you can lay waste to those guys out of Trav. Being a barbarian, obviously you have a ton of health, and if having battle commands and battle orders, obviously, that is going to add a ton of health on top of what you already got, so that you do have a ton of survivability when you're rocking this barbarian out of Trav. Unfortunately, there aren't really a lot of other areas in the game where this character really works as well, perhaps out at Eldrich and Shenkk obviously, or you can do stuff like Pindle, but that's not going to be a high rune farming spot. So I know it sounds a little bit crazy, I know, but actually the barbarian, using that item find, makes it one of the best high rune farmers in the game, even though it can only farm, out at Travincal. Alright, now we're getting into the 3 big dogs here. In my opinion, these next 3 on the list are actually head and shoulders above the other ones. Even though the other ones are good, these ones are just absolutely amazing. So number 3 here on this list, I'm going with the Blizzard Sorceress. I know a lot of people have been using the dual spec Sorceress with Firewall and Orb, but the way I view it is if you have a character that's good at doing a bunch of things, then it isn't going to be absolutely great at anything. That is why I would always recommend going full Blizzard straight down the cold tree. That way you maximize your damage, maximize your kill speed, and everybody knows that kill speed is the secret to finding more high runes. So there are a few places that you can't necessarily solo farm with this character, that being the Frigid Highlands, Eldrich and Shenkk, and in general you'll just struggle with places that are strictly and solely going to be cold immune. But this is a good character actually for outdoing Trav. There are some occasional cold immunes, but your mercenary can deal with them pretty quickly when they do arise, and this character is very good at doing the cow level as well. And even though there are cold immunes in the Chaos Sanctuary, because you're a sorceress and you have teleport, you can teleport around and do that seal pop trick, and that's actually going to be a good way in the Chaos Sanctuary to farm for high runes, especially early on before you have the ability to really slaughter everything yourself easily. Now you can get a ton of damage output from that blizzard, and of course you use Ice Blast on the individual targets, so even in the cow level, dropping those blizzards on those herds of cows, this character works very great. So this is another one of those characters that early on works really well. Even when you don't have a bunch of plus skill gear, you can go Blizzard Sorceress right from the start pretty much. You can farm up and gear up your character, and when you get even better gear, then you can get out there and farm even faster. I know that number 2 here is going to be no surprise to anyone. It's one of the most powerful characters in the entire game, and that is the Hammerdin. The character is difficult to play kind of when it is budget, but you can definitely get out there with a budget Hammerdin and get farming. But once you get some of that better gear like a Shaco, a Hoto, you get your Spirit and all that good stuff, and your Enigma, which you're going to need those high runes for, this character absolutely slaughters almost any area in the entire game. Because those hammers are actually magic damage, there are almost nothing that is immune to these hammers. There is the notorious Wave 2 or Bale, but in the game in general, there are not many magic immunes at all. Those hammers do have incredibly large output as well of damage, so it absolutely slaughters cows. Eldrich and Shenkk you can do with ease. You can get out to Trav and take everything down, and the Hammerdin is known for being the absolute best Chaos Sanctuary farmer. So on top of the hammer damage being absolutely incredible, it's actually a very safe character as well. It is incredibly easy to get max block if you use the skill Holy Shield, which I would recommend, and it's also incredibly easy to cap out your resistances, because you probably will be using the Spirit Rune Word in a shield, but you don't need to make it in a Monarch. For a Paladin, you can get 4 open sockets in a Pally Shield that can inherently get up to 45 all res just on the base. Now on top of that, you get all the resistance from the Spirit Rune Word, making those resistances something you do not even necessarily need to worry about. So with all that kill speed, being able to farm almost anywhere in the entire game, being able to do it all solo by yourself, this character was so close to making the absolute best high rune farmer. It is crazy, but I had to leave it at number 2. So now we're coming down to the numero uno, the absolute best high rune farmer in the game, and this is in my opinion. Of course, feel free to head down in the comments, let me know if there's any that I skipped, or how you would swap around the order of these on this list. But here at the big top dog, we're going with the Javazon, and more specifically, Lightning Fury. This skill in particular for the Javazon is so powerful, you could literally take the javelins you start the game with that you can sell for 1 gold, and you can actually lay waste to mobs in hell and start farming high runes with literally any javelins in the entire game. Now obviously getting more stuff that has plus to skills like Titans or T-Strokes will increase your kill speed and make you find even more high runes, but you don't necessarily even need them. There is another piece of gear that doesn't actually add plus to skills but will increase your kill speed immensely, and that's the Razor Tail, because it gives you that piercing to attack. So if you ever seen one of these lightning Javazons lay waste to a cow game, you'll know exactly why I put this character up at number 1. And obviously the cow game is known for one of the both best places in order to find high runes. And it is known as one of the best boss killers when you use Charge Strike. Along with everything I've said already, once again this being a lightning attack, the Infinity not only will increase the damage, but also it will break almost all lightning immunities in the game, which allows you to farm almost anywhere. Obviously this character will have no problem outrunning Eldrich and Shenkk as well, but this character mainly, not exclusively, but you'll see it just running around cow games left and right, laying down all that beef. Just the sheer mass of speed that this character can take out cows in a full game. That is why I had to put this one right up at the top as the best high rune farmer in the entire game. So let me know if you disagree down in the comments section. Peace out, guys. Don't forget, keep slaying.